Previously on Chaos Head Noah. I'd only glanced at the student handbook, but all the information that should have been on the first page, such as the name, the birth date, and the class, was blacked out. In addition, the portrait that should have been attached had been removed. It felt like I was going to puke. I was hit with an intense wave of nausea. I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. Covering my mouth, I moved toward the stairs. I ran through the courtyard with no real destination in mind, until I could no longer hold back the urge to vomit. Disgusting. The second I fell to my knees, the entire contents of my stomach began spilling out. Destroy it for me, you say?
Hi?
Destroy it? Destroy what? That came out of nowhere. I never would have thought Rimi was the type to act like such a dokun. Despite my confusion, Rimi continued to talk very seriously.
その CD を持ってる人は呪われちゃうの。タク、知らなかったでしょ。
What is this, the Ring 2.0?
私の調べた情報によるとね、ニュージェネの被害者はみんなその CD を買った人なの。フェスの予言は CD を買った人にだけ当てはまる。フェスの呪いなの。
That couldn't be. Yeah, Fest is definitely not creepy enough here to be a Sadako 2.0. I'm sorry, Rimi, but you're just full of it.
ニュージェネ事件は全部フェスの仕業。急がないと次に死ぬのはタクだよ。
If I want to, I could recreate every single detail both vividly and clearly in my mind. Once the image was as precise as it was going to get, I planted my feet, gritted my teeth, and tried grasping the sword of the power I now held in my hands. Become real. 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 I prayed inside my head, devoting all my thoughts toward that one single wish. What I'm holding is a real D-sword. It's not fake. It's real. I infused the strength of my entire being into the blade. Come, reveal yourself to me. Grant me salvation. Protect me. I slowly opened my eyes. The sword I was holding hadn't changed whatsoever. It was still the same cheap-ass toy.
そりゃそうだよな。
She pressed her hand against her head and looked up at me. Long gone was the endless confidence from a few moments ago. All there was now was fear. Her eyes were moist. Beside this never-before-seen vulnerability lit a sadistic fire in me like no other. All the frustration that had been building inside me had at last found a way to escape, and now it could flow out all at once.
僕を舐めるな。
My words were undeniably aggressive. They were words I would normally never use, but I had said them to her. And it felt good. Refreshing even.
悪かった。でも叩くなんてひどいだろ。
Sena looked like she was about to cry, something that only fueled me even more. The way she was slumped down on the floor. The way her skirt was hiked farther up on her legs, exposing more of her thighs' skin than could normally be seen. The way her long black hair flowed down and spilled outward on the ground. All of it aroused me. All of it.
西条匠のオリジナルは見つかったか？
いいえ、この病院内にいることは分かっているのに。これ、カルテよ。彼は無遊病だわ。
In sharp contrast to how resistant she had been to hand it over before, Hasuki readily passed the medical record to Suwa. She had already had it in her possession, as if she had somehow predicted that Suwa would pay her a visit.
助かる。じゃあ予定通りにオーフロントに奴を誘導して覚醒させるか。
接触するの？
ああ、顔は隠すけどな。
With a mischievous smile, Suwa placed a gentle kiss on Hazuki's lips. What the?
コスプレしてパーティーに出発だ。
Nanami still wasn't answering. Please pick up. Pick up the phone already. Oh, she picked up.
ななみでしょ。返事しろよ。今どこにいるんだ。大丈夫なの？何か言ってよ。ななみ
I called out desperately to the other end of the line, but the voice that answered back.
少しは落ち着いたら。
Shogun? That voice was Shogun.
なんて。
I was horrified. I didn't want to accept it. I'd called Nanami's phone, but Shogun had answered. Completely dumbfounded, it took all I had just to say the same thing I had before.
なんで。
メールの意味がわからなかったのかな。
信じない。
It sounded like fans cheering from the bleachers at a soccer game, or maybe a volleyball game. The entirety of the Dokuns who had gathered in Scramble Crossing had all begun chanting in unison. Maybe this was planned from a planned part of the event, or maybe Shogun had mind-controlled them into doing it. They all followed the same rhythm as they raised their hands overhead and shouted the same words. They were all insane. I was horrified. The chant wasn't stopping. In the midst of their chant, I could hear the high-pitched voices of female Dokuns.
こっち向いて。愛してる。
As I listened closely, I noticed the one thing they all had in common. They were all making fun of me. To them, they were just having fun and laughing to their hearts' content. Everything was fine as long as they were having fun. A festival dedicated to my sacrifice. A true shit show.
ナナミッチが死んだっていいじゃん。
Huh?
タッキーは自分の命よりナナミッチの命の方が大事なの？
Well, Nanami's my precious little sister, so...
でも突き詰めれば他人っしょ？
No?
死んだら悲しいけどそれだけ。タッキーに何か害が及ぶ？
Honestly, yes. He probably would be, actually. No.
自分の命と他人の命とどっちが大事？死んだらさ、世界が終わるんだよ。タッキーにとっての世界が終わるの。わかる？死んだらあとは何も残らない。死後の世界なんてない。天国もない。生まれ変わることもない。ただ、タッキーっていう一人の動物の生命活動が終わって、タ タッキーはもう世界を観測できなくなるんさ。それって世界が終わるってことっしょ。つまりさ、タッキーが死んだらタッキーが観測してたナナミッチもどうせ消えるってことなんだよ。ナナミッチだけじゃない、リミッチもアヤセッチも、それにアタシも、みんな消える。でもナナミッチが死んだだけならタッキーは消えないで済むし、タッキーの世界も消えないで済むんさ。ブラチューの最終回もちゃんと見られるし、来年発売予定のブラチューのゲームも私の新作フィギュアもちゃんと買える世界が残るんさ。ねえタッキー、死にたい？死にたくない？
And so it continues. Greetings, my name is Neosekken, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Chaos Head Noah. So, 2 episodes in, and we have yet to achieve the Crying Sky ending. I might have to get a mountain of onions to start chopping underneath the sky to see if maybe that'll help speed things along if this keeps going for much longer. Anyway, I see that we have a delusion trigger to go through, and we are also dealing with everybody's favorite baby murderer. So, let's see what the guide says on this. Wants me to select a negative option for this one, so let's see what this does.
警察の人が後でお話を聞きたいそうですよ。
Who, your boyfriend?
え？
The baby daddy? Hazuki's gentle tone turned cold. Without looking at me, she continued writing something on a piece of paper attached to a clipboard.
妹さんを殺すなんてひどい人ですね。
You have no room to talk, lady. You really don't. What had she just said?
あなたの家で見つかったそうですよ。死体。
What?
妹さんの手首を切り落として持ち歩いていたなんてまともじゃないわ。
Neither is aborting your own child and stuffing its corpse into the belly of another man, but I mean, hey, details.
僕は殺してない。
そう主張しているらしいですね。意味不明なことばかり言ってて話にならないって
Also,
刑事さんがぼやいてました。
Also, I like how I can faintly see her mouth moving right behind her closed mouth as she talks here. I think this might be some kind of graphical error with her sprite here or something like that, but it's funny to me. If she had a puppet, she could probably apply for a new job as a ventriloquist.
心神喪失で無罪っていうのを狙ってるんですか？
You would know all about insanity, wouldn't you? You and your boy toy. Insanity. A state in which a person loses the ability to distinguish between right and wrong due to some form of mental disorder. Well, that's Well, that's part of it, but you're forgetting the reality aspect, or rather the ability to distinguish between fiction and reality. According to paragraph 1 of Article 39 of the Japanese Penal Code, an act of insanity is not punishable, resulting in cases in which criminals are acquitted without being held legally responsible for their actions. Similar to what we got here in the States, then.
でもみんな思ってますよ。あなたが殺したんだって。
My chest squeezed tightly, and I began to hallucinate that everything before my eyes had gone completely black. I was starting to doubt myself. Had I killed Nanami? No, that couldn't be true.
この人殺し。
You are the literal last person on the face of the earth I want to hear that from. Shut up. I don't care if you are a delusion talking to me right now. You shut the fuck up about accusing other people of being a murderer. She had been writing something, but suddenly, Hazuki's hand stopped. She then slowly turned the clipboard toward me. Welcome back to planet Earth once again, Sir Astronaut, sir. We missed you. Suddenly, I realized I was sitting in the same bed, in the same hospital room. I wasn't sure why the sheet I just ripped off of me was still on me. Hazuki-san, who had been standing right beside the bed, had disappeared before I could even blink. Wiping the greasy sweat off my forehead, I looked around the hospital room once again. After a couple of knocks, Hazuki-san entered the room, and her eyes widened slightly upon seeing me.
あら、西條さん、目が覚めたんですね。
A gentle smile accompanied her as she said that. I stiffened up, then looked away.
お体の調子はどうですか？
Feeling a lot better than your dead kid. I can tell you that much. Hazuki-san held out a thermometer to me so naturally I couldn't help but take it.
体温を測ってくださいね。
Sure, after you go jump out that window right over there. As I took the thermometer from her, I gulped. It's the same. The exact thing from before was repeating. It was as if Hazuki had just walked into the hospital room for the first time. I nervously reached for the thermometer in my underarm. I was sure I had put a thermometer in there just a minute ago. And yet, there was nothing there. The thermometer had disappeared. Which meant that what I'd seen earlier really had been a delusion. The tension in my body disappeared, but that didn't mean that my state of mind was any better, nor that I felt anywhere close to relieved. Nothing on the guide with this one, so... What did I choose here last time? I don't quite remember. I had no reason to come to school anymore. My one and only reason was gone. I want to say maybe I selected the positive delusion first time around, so let's go with red. Shit. Guessed wrong. Okay, let's try this one now. For example, wrapping my arms around one of the girls in my class and whispering dirty things ripped straight from a eroge in their ear. You'd probably make them laugh if you did that. If I could actually do that, I'd go straight to class in the morning to get in some public humiliation roleplay. While only half paying attention, I looked around the classroom. I just want to remind everybody that this is the guy right here who apparently has a pure soul, according to that water lily tip entry I read a little not too long ago. This man right here, he's got a pure soul, and he gets giddy over, and he's getting giddy over the idea of initiating some public humiliation roleplay. Just throwing that out there. While only half paying attention, I looked around the classroom. Who'd be a good target? A cute girl that wouldn't put up much of a fight sounded ideal. Please pick Kozapi. I want you to pick Kozapi just so you can have your expectations subverted by having her read your mind and just spooking you silly. Just please do it. Please. The Dokyun bitches were already out of the question. Even though they were all mere high school students, they all wore way too much makeup, rendering them not even remotely attractive. Oh, I know. Maybe the transfer student would be a good choice. Good boy, Takumi, or, well, bad boy, Takumi. But good on you for doing exactly what I want you to do. I am definitely looking forward to you getting some comeuppance here in just a minute. From a glance, she looked to be quite docile, and her entire body gave off the aura of a lolly who was typically the #1 target of bullying. Additionally, she also had the clumsy girl attribute, which was super moe. Really, she was already virtually a 2D character. Yes, perhaps she really would be a good choice. Now that was a seriously delayed reaction to the delusion trigger. I stood up in a relaxed manner. Don't you mean a suave manner? I mean, come on, this is a positive delusion that you're trying to conjure up for yourself. You don't need to be modest. Swagger on over to her like as though you're James Bond 2.0. Go ahead, come on. The aura surrounding me had changed. Even the people who had been ridiculing and provoking me were startled by my sudden movement. In the end, you guys are all talk. But I'm different. I'm the type of man who acts. And now is the time to prove it to you. Without saying a single word, I made my way over to the transfer student's desk. She was sitting hunched over in her seat, face down. Noticing me approach, she looked up at me quizzically. For some reason, she already looked like she was about to cry. I then quickly grabbed both her slender arms. I then began to pull her toward me. She tried to resist me with her feeble strength. She alternated between looking at me and looking at her surroundings, her confusion written all over her face. It was clear she had no idea what to do. Yeah. Put that thing away, man. I brought her in close and wrapped my arms around her quite forcefully. God, his face! Oh, God. Oh, man, I really wish this was actually... I really wish that she could actually read his mind while he's having these delusions. I really wish it so bad, because the immediate peril he would be in would be so fucking hilarious. But then again, this is pretty hilarious too. Her body was really incredibly frail, to the point where I thought I might break her if I was too rough with her. She trembled like a chihuahua in my arms. A chihuahua with a sword that is 3 times as big as she is. Actually, correction, more like 2.5, but details. But man, did she smell good. I nuzzled against her head, the top of which barely reached the bottom of my chin. I buried my nose in her soft hair and sniffed it. The transfer student was so terrified that she couldn't speak. Then again, I hadn't seen her talk even once before this anyway. She was struggling and wiggling around in order to try to escape from my grip, but the strength she put forth was pitiful. I didn't exercise normally at all, but even with 0 muscle mass, I'd easily been able to subdue her. The Dokuns around me, likely taken aback by my strange behavior, were all frozen in place. As the transfer student shook her head back and forth, I ran my tongue along her earlobe. Pure soul! Her delicate body squirmed in my arms. Ah, what a delicious reaction. More. I couldn't get enough of it. Pure soul! I was getting more and more aroused. I decided not to think about the consequences, instead just choosing to follow through with my inner desires. First, the dirty talk. I was going to make this timid transfer student say something indecent. Sexual desire was something else.
レマンコって言え。
The transfer student's face reddened. She shook her head even more desperately than before, tears welling up in her eyes.
クリとキリギリスって言え。
This is your idea of dirty talk? Not only are you an impure soul, you suck at dirty talk too. Her reluctance only served to feed my sadistic desire even more.
チンスコって言え。
チンスコ
Well, let's forget about that last one. Oh, I'm not gonna forget it, and I'm not gonna let you forget it either. Not the subversion of expectation I was expecting him to suffer through, but I'll take it. As I slouched farther and farther into my seat, I tried to make the transfer student perform a number of humiliating acts in my head. I wasn't going to hold back anymore. If my life was going to end anyway, I might as well have a little bit of fun before it did. Well, that was fun. Okay, this should be number 33, and the guide says nothing about this one either. What do I choose here? I'm quite certain I chose a positive delusion this time, at this point, first time around, so let's try red yet again. which meant... Startled, I looked up at the sky. Maybe I should just read some of the text, before the actual delusions start to get some proper context going. I'll do that for the future ones. Startled, I looked up at the sky. Is this voice an attack from Shogun? Is he reading my mind? I don't think Shogun can make his voice go that high-pitched and cutesy. Just saying. He's attacking me from a satellite! Well, I'm just gonna say, Takumi, if Shogun had access to a satellite to attack people, he should try to use a satellite that actually has like a laser cannon on it or something. Like, sure, being able to mind control people from a distance here, yeah, I can definitely is some practical application to use such a weapon for all kinds of things. But is it cool like a laser from a satellite? No. So if I were Shogun, I would try to find a way to I would use the first satellite to mind control a person who has access to a second satellite that has a laser cannon on it, and then use that second satellite to vaporize you on the spot. See? I'm a genius. Panicked, I crouched down on the spot, clutching my head. He's gonna kill me. This time he's gonna kill me for sure. He has to be angry at me for not listening back at Old Front. And now he's doing this to punish me. What do I do? Where can I go that'll protect me from him? With those thoughts racing through my mind, I was thrown into a desperate frenzy. There's nowhere to run. An invisible attack from space, aimed at me with pinpoint accuracy. Its weaponry could surely pierce through anything to get to me, no matter how strong the shelter. There's nowhere in Japan that I can run to. Nowhere I can hide. Try Alaska. Maybe the Aurora Borealis can interfere with it somehow. It's over. It's all over for me. You can be, admittedly. What even is a Kozupi? Are you trying to throw me off guard with that moe voice of yours? Why? Why are you willing to go so far just to hunt me down? What are you going to do to me? Make my head explode? Dissolve my brain into a pile of goo? No, you'll do that to yourself later, along with your entire body. Please. Please, no. I don't want to die. Well, at least I assume something like that might end up happening in the story. But maybe it won't. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But if it does, well, there you go. I was cowering on the floor in fear. And then I felt someone poke me in the shoulder. Poke him in the ribs. I nervously looked up and saw that the transfer student was still there. When she poked me, she tried to mumble something, but I hadn't ended up saying anything. So, instead of speaking, she decided to timidly raise her hand. Orihara Kozue. I very faintly remembered hearing that name from Misami-kun a long time ago. It was 4,000 years ago, during the Ice Age! Kozue. Kozupi. No. Does this mean that this voice I'm hearing is the one that you're saying in my head? The transfer student nodded her head emphatically.
テレパシー。
仕組みはよくわかんないのら。でもできるの。
That's ridiculous. You're ridiculous. For real though, if we had access to a satellite laser, that could easily solve so many problems practically overnight. We could probably just laser Noah 2 out of existence from a distance. Okay, nothing on the guide here. Let's try red. Why does Kozupi have a D sword?
だってコズピーは
With an instant smile on her face, Kozupi looked back at me. That's because Kozupi is a big-brained girl.
将軍さんの手下だもん。
And the gigantic, snowboard-esque sword flashed, as if cutting the air itself to ribbons. Ooh, it real booted.
え
Okay, maybe either she slashed my head, slashed one of my arms off, or maybe one of my ankles. I'm gonna bet it's one of those three things. Head, arm, or ankle. I had no idea what had just happened. Before I could even react, it was all over. Kozumi's small body embraced the D-sword. And clinging to that sword was a sticky substance. Blood.
バイバイ、たくみさん。
Bye-bye! And in that very moment, my body had been permanently disfigured. I nearly collapsed, so I tried to step forward with my right leg to stop myself. But my leg wouldn't move. The sensation in my lower body had disappeared. I felt a blistering heat around my waist. Oh, she just cut me in half.
あれ
I fell forward. I couldn't move my body. Confused as could be, using all my hands, I pushed myself slightly upward and looked toward my body. Blood was gushing out from my side. Slimy, protruding intestines glistened in the light. Pink flesh clung to exposed white bones. It was a body that had been bored out. One that couldn't be mine.
嘘でしょ
Unable to believe what I was seeing, I looked up at Kozupi.
ふっぴゅー。
Staring at me with nothing but raw disdain in her eyes. Kozupi took the D-sword dripping with my blood. And then, almost as if she wanted me to watch, she took her adorable tongue and slowly licked away the crimson.
で
That's what you get for licking her in your dreams. You lick Kozapi in your dreams, she'll lick something of you right back. My delusion made me feel really sick. But that didn't mean that the delusion wouldn't become reality. Assuming the worst, I distanced myself a little from Kozapi, preparing myself to bolt at any time. Completely oblivious to what I was feeling, Kozapi waltzed around the store like she owned the place, her footsteps light and bouncy. She didn't even attempt to try and hide her sword from the people around her, acting as if it were the most normal thing in the world. It had been the same with Sena. She'd also been lugging around a gigantic sword in the middle of Shibuya of no regard to the people around her. Kozapi was way too calm. Even if Kozapi didn't say, work for Shogun, she still was definitely crazy. But she's our crazy lady. And here I was wondering if we could get a different choice of snack to snack on, but nope, it's just the same old thing.
よかったらどうぞ。
And Sena, unfortunately, is still a loser, even with this. Okay, the guide tells me to select a negative choice for this one. Let's see what rotten fruit this will spew our way. I'd said it with good intentions in mind, but Sena simply took the one before me, ignoring the offer. I keep forgetting. I gotta read this stuff. If you want mine here, okay. So no attention. Okay, so this is about me handing my winning stick over to Sena. Got it. I'd said it with good intentions in mind, but Sena simply took one look at me before ignoring the offer. Okay, fine. I guess you can just remain a loser. What's with that smile? Look at that smile. Look at that cheeky smile. It looks so out of place on her. Holy shit. It's far too toothy. And then, for some reason, she handed me a popsicle stick instead. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're making me out to be the loser, huh? This is my stick? She made no attempt to explain herself either. I wasn't sure what she was expecting, since I wasn't exactly going to get a sack over a losing popsicle stick that didn't even belong to me. Oh, it belongs to you now. She's making it yours. Was she just silently ordering me to toss in the trash can near the convenience store or something? No, she's just trying to send you a message. Considering it was her and all, it certainly was in the realm of possibility. Sena must have had a whole host of meek male subjects that she used to do her dirty work. Ugh. She was pretty much insulting me to my face. But just the thought of what she'd do if I defied her scared me far too much, so I just bit my lip and put up with it. If you really want to floor her right now, Takumi, assuming that she actually does want you to right here now toss it in the trash for her, try licking the parts where her mouth was on it, right in front of her face, and just shock her, surprise her. I guarantee you that would wipe the smug grin off her face instantly if you did that.
私の勝ち。
Oh? Her gaze fixed on the sky that peeked between the buildings. Sena declared her supposed victory. Wait, is this guy crying? Have I won? Well, you won, but apparently, but no. Never mind. With a sigh, I inadvertently looked down at the losing popsicle stick and gasped. Should have guessed. What the hell was this?
先週出た渋谷限定品だ。ただの当たりより価値がある。
Go on. Sena had a smug expression on her face as she explained. Was she just trying to brag?
だから私の勝ち。
What the hell kind of competition has she even won? Besides, I didn't want anything to do with these winning sticks, especially of how in poor taste they were. I was tempted to snap the stick right in half on the spot, but I swallowed back my anger and turned it to Sena.
それよりお前。
Oh, wait. Wait, that's it? But wait, you didn't tell me what you won! What did you win? What did she win? That's right. Smack him. He needs to shave. Okay. Nothing here on the guide for this one. On chapter 8 now. Okay, what do we have here? After hitting me with such an unreasonable demand, Rimi sat down on the sofa. Let's go with negative. If I tried to have a one-on-one conversation with a 3D girl, it would be over in seconds. As much as I'd gotten used to talking with Rimi, since I had a lot more chances to do so recently, I still doubted I'd even last 5 minutes. Moreover, my head was already fully occupied with the stuff about Nanami, so I very much didn't feel up for a casual conversation. And so, I resorted to just ignoring her. I sat down in my chair, all while remaining painfully aware of my own worthlessness. Okay, did I strike gold? Nope. I only struck coal. Not gold, but coal. Let's try that again. I sensed Rimi moving behind me. The rustling of her clothes was growing closer. Oh, come on! I already skirted the line last episode with YouTube. Stop putting me in these situations.
だから無視しないでよ。
Oh, she's clothed. Thank Christ. Before I had a chance to turn around, I was embraced from behind. A gentle floral scent hit me. My back was struck by the soft sensation of Rimi's breasts.
寂しいよ。そういうことされると。
I must have been running away from reality again, giving myself a delusion that was a lot easier to swallow than the real world. Upon thinking that, the sheer emptiness I felt overpowered any lust I may have had, and I was no longer able to enjoy the delusion anymore. Rather than taking her and pinning her down on the bed, I sighed to throw out all the things I could have only voiced in a delusion such as this.
僕だって寂しかった。辛かったんだ。リミがこの1週間全然連絡くれなくて。
I could feel the movements of Rimi's body directly against my back. Her chest faintly rose and fell with her every breath. As obvious as the fact may have been, it reminded me that Rimi truly was alive.
ごめん。一緒にいてあげられなくてごめん。
Rimi tightened her embrace around me.
私の中でもまだ迷いがあって、どうしたらいいかわからなくて、ちょっと考えてみようと思って。
は？
Doubts? Like what? What could she have been talking about?
そもそも私、タクと一緒にいていいのかなとか、このままの関係を続けるべきなのかなとか。でもね、このままじゃきっとダメなんだ。それじゃ何も救えない。ねえタク、私が最初に願ったのはさ、一つだけだった。なのにどうして人は、私は際限なく望み続けちゃうんだろうね。あの空を見つけた時に私は
I had no idea what Rimi was talking about, nor did I know how to respond to it. Silence enveloped us. I could hear Rimi's gentle breaths close to my ear, but no matter how long I waited for her to end it with some silly punchline, none ever came in the wafting silence. Was it possible that this wasn't a delusion? The moment I considered that, a wave of anxiety ran through me. In reality, Rimi was hugging me. She was pressing tightly against me. That realization alone nearly destroyed any sense of reason I had. I had a feeling that, in a situation like this, if I pinned Rimi to the bed, she'd let me have my way with her. With a gulp, I... Shut up, Sena! Sorry, Seira. Sorry, Sena, not you. Seira.
今の何？
Rimi let go of me in surprise, and the tender sensation vanished along with her. Both of the tender sensations vanished with her, you mean? A complicated mix of both relief and disappointment spread through my chest. Wait a second. Rimi had just heard my Seira-tan notification tone. Oh god, how embarrassing. Well, if you find it so embarrassing, why don't you change it? You ever think of that, genius? I know what you're up to, Suwa. And I'm sure she does too. It looks like this upcoming one that I have to choose here wants me to do the neutral option. Right when we enter Ayase's hospital room. So, I'll just save again real quick. do just that. The hospital room had an area of around 10 square meters. There was a toilet to the right of the entrance, and there was a bed near the back. The setting sun shone through the window on the other side of the room. Ayase wasn't in the bed. Based on how the sheets were a little messed up, it looked like she had been there until very recently.
どこ行ったんだ?
さあ
The window was open. Wind blew against the white curtains, sending them fluttering in the breeze. For some reason, it had caught my eye ever since I'd come in the room. It felt like a negative delusion could start at any second. One where Ayase jumped from the rooftop and fell past that window. One where, if I looked down, I'd find her sprawled on the ground, covered in blood, and with gray matter scattered everywhere. I had to check. I couldn't bear the burning curiosity. As if possessed, my shaky legs moved step by step toward the window. I stood right by it. The sky was dyed in an evening glow. It was a crisp fall evening. What might have been below? The very picture of hell itself? Nanami staring up at you very intensely. With a gulp, I ever so slowly peeked out the window and down toward the ground. There was nothing out of the ordinary. I couldn't see Ayase's corpse anywhere. I guess I'd just been paranoid. But when I went to retract my head in relief, I noticed it. Oh, come on, man. Enough with the freaking phrase. On the window one story below, a single towel was waving in the wind. I assumed it was just a normal white towel, but words of some kind were scrawled on it in dark blue lettering. Due to it flapping in the wind, I couldn't quite figure out what it said. Not that I really cared. The words scribbled on some towels shouldn't have bothered me at all. But a part of me still tried desperately to read it. And when I looked closer, I saw. Whose eyes are those eyes? I was speechless. I couldn't look away. You know, since Shogun is apparently hiding out in this hospital, if this isn't a delusion, he could have stuck that towel there, for all we know. I could just picture him one floor below us, just wheeling along through the halls with a towel and writing this message on it with a Sharpie, and then just timing it until right when we show up, he just lifts himself out of the chair towards the ledge of the window and then just sticks it right in there and then just wheels right on back like it's nobody's business, muttering his foo-hee-hee-hee laugh to himself all the while. Because he is Takumi. I was speechless. I couldn't look away. And right after. Or maybe he's still in there, waiting to make sure I actually saw it, and then he pulls it back in with him, and then rolls away in his wheelchair, going foo-hee-hee-hee to himself all the while. The towel was suddenly pulled back through the window, almost as if they had known I'd been looking at the towel at that very moment. No, that couldn't be possible. Nobody I knew could have been in the room below me. Nobody I knew had been hospitalized. Even if someone other than a patient were stalking me from the room below, it would have been possible for them to predict that I would peer down from here, right? There were no surveillance cameras in the rooms. It was all just a coincidence. It had to be. But what if, maybe, just maybe, it wasn't? Terror creeping up my back, I turned back toward the entrance. There was nobody there. The door was shut. I immediately pulled myself away from the window, feeling incredibly uneasy. Don't think about it. Try as hard as you can not to. This was a coincidence. A simple coincidence. That was what I told myself.
見ろよタク、変な本があるぞ。
I suddenly realized Misami-kun was calling me. I'm on to you, Shogun! You and your dirty towel tricks. And hello, what do we have here? On the 7th page. Okay, I guess, okay, I don't really have anything to say on that other than, okay. Why didn't we get that last little thing the first time? Seems like a very minor thing to add, all things considered. Yeah, I selected a neutral option for this one, didn't I? But the guide tells me I should select a negative option for this one. I'm pretty sure this one is going to be particularly unpleasant. Call it a premonition. Gladiole. I remembered that name. I'd seen that term back when I first been researching D-swords. It seemed that D-sword was a term used in literature in pseudepigrapha relating to the legend of Gladiole, or more specifically, a sword in it. I wasn't really sure, though. As I continued to think, Misami-kun quietly got up and started to walk toward me. He went to go right past me, but just before he did, he put his hand on my shoulder.
俺もうついていけねえや。あとは任せた。
With a sigh of exasperation, he made to leave the room.
Matte.
Ayase had finally said something to Misami-kun, but she'd done so with a grim expression on her face. I wasn't sure why. Well, Delusion Misami, I think you're about to be made Delusion Ayase's bitch, so hold on to your butt.
逃がさないわよ。
あ？何何？俺の相手してくれんの？
ええ、そうね。
Oh, verily so. This is going to be especially brutal, whatever this is. I can already tell.
あなたが邪神王の使いだということは分かっている。
Well, there's a plot twist. Turns out that Misami-kun was actually one of Neose's henchmen all along. Somehow I could actually believe that, if that were actually a thing. What even? Another part of her insane storyline? Misami-kun looked pretty annoyed at being dragged into Ayase's bullshit. Pretty justified response, to be honest. It wasn't even funny as a joke. Speak for yourself, I find it hilarious. However, Ayase seemed quite serious.
Takumi.
As she called my name, Ayase took out something that looked like a fruit knife from behind the bedsheets. Then threw it over to me. Oh ho ho! I'm being recruited into this, am I? Surprised, I hurriedly went to catch it. Don't catch the blade, whatever you do. While the knife fortunately had a guard on it, I still came close to cutting my hand.
そいつを殺すのよ。
Can't I just shave his head or something? Him? When Ayase said that, she was looking at Misami-kun. What kind of batshit insane plot twist was this? Bewildered, I held the knife with a trembling hand.
おいおい、殺せときたか。いくらなんでもそれはひどくね。まあ岸本に嫌われてんのは分かってたけどよ。まさか面と向かってそんなこと言われるとは思わなかったぜ。それでなんだっけ、グラビトーン、邪神、何のことだか俺にはさっぱりわかんねえんだけどな。たく、とりあえずナイフを置けよ。岸本の妄想に付き合うな。
Intelligence has got nothing to do with this, my friend. I'm just a drone right
じゃない
now.
わ。匠、そいつの言葉を信じないで。
Misami-kun's expression stiffened, and he took a step away from Ayase.
お前、異常だぜ。
Okay, if I can't shave his head, could I at least give him a mohawk? A mullet?
匠、早く殺すのよ。でないとグラジオールに君の存在が筒抜けになってしまうわ。
Well, unfortunately, joke's on you. Gladiol already knows all about me. And he also knows about me, too. The other me, I mean. Mr. 2 guy. Number 2. Takumi number 2. Or maybe I'm Takumi number 2, rather. But Takumi number 1. Whatever, you all know what the hell I'm trying to say. With the knife in my hand, I slowly placed it back on Ayase's lap.
匠、
君の言ってることはめちゃくちゃだよ。
Ignore and contradict her at your own peril, my friend. Oh, there's a new pose I haven't seen before. She looked up at me with sad eyes. Doesn't matter how you look at me. How the hell do you expect me to kill Misami-kun? This has nothing to do with Gladiol or whatever. Killing someone would make me a criminal. And that's not gonna happen. Simple as that.
さすが親友。お前なら俺を選ぶって信じてたぜ。タク。
Misami-kun clapped his hand on my shoulder. And then, casually as could be, without a care in the world, he grasped a knife on Ayase's lap.
じゃあな。電波女。
And then, without stopping even once, he removed the guard from the knife before immediately slashing outward. Yeah, she was right. I should have just killed you. And then shaved your head afterward. Just to be doubly sure. Blood spurted from her neck with blistering speed. Some splashed against my face. It was very, very hot. Ayase's eyes were wide with shock. She was looking straight at me. Her body then slowly collapsed on the bed. The pure white sheets were stained crimson.
タク、今のが最後のチャンスだったんだぜ。グラジオール復活を阻止するためのな。
I couldn't even scream.
正しかったのは岸本の方だったってわけだ。
As he said that, Misumi-kun got on top of Ayase's splayed out body. Then, without even a hint of hesitation, he gouged out her eyeballs. And yet, her body didn't move. It didn't even twitch. Misumi-kun turned toward me, and with a cruel smile, he murmured.
その目誰の目?
When I came to, Ayase, who should have been covered in blood, was simply sitting on the bed, completely unharmed. Misumi-kun was nowhere in sight. Had that been a delusion? What do you think, genius? She's not dead and on her bed, all with red all around her dead body occupied bed. I let out a deep sigh of relief. That'd definitely been a nasty one. Feeling guilty, I apologized to Ayase inside my head. But since she couldn't hear my thoughts, Ayase just went on for schizo babbling.
Nanda, それじゃあ必死にごまかそうとしてたのがバカみたいじゃない。
Looks like the last two delusions I have to specifically trigger won't be until chapter 9, a little ways into chapter 9, so looks like until then, everything's going to be up to my discretion. But hey, we're almost there, I think. Didn't I choose a neutral option with this one last time too? Let's go with a negative. Well, darn. Must look pretty stupid for trying so hard to hide it.
屋上に行ったらちょうど岸本さんがいたから、つい気になってたことを質問しちゃったの。そしたら機嫌損ねたみたい。
What she asked?
なんだよ、気になってたことって。
ね。あなたはもうずっとこの病院に
God damn
たま
it.
にしか学校に来なく
Okay, let's try this.
あなたはタクの何なのって。
Now this is a lot more wholesome compared to the other one. Just simple love triangle bullshit. What she meant by that?
マジで宣戦布告ってやつか。
まあそんなとこかな。
This is my man, bitch! Mine! Rimi looked bashful. Her gaze darted back and forth between me and the ground.
タクは渡さないからって言っちゃったし。そしたら見事に叩かれたんだけどさ。
すげえ、女の戦いだな。
A cat fight is girl on girl action, you dumbass. Misumi-kun rustled my hair.
おいタク、どうすんだよ。
I'm gonna do nothing. I'm just gonna let nature and Darwinism both run their respective courses. May the best woman win! What was he getting at here? I didn't really understand. Actually, it was more like my mind had gone completely blank. Well, then again, thinking about it now, I guess we could always go with a threesome.
告られてんだぞお前。もう付き合っちまえよ。
Grinning, Misumi-kun suddenly shoved me forward. Caught off guard, I stumbled. And Rimi was right in the line of fire. As per the laws of physics, I ended up with my arms around Rimi. I'm pretty sure Newton in his laws of physics has never once covered a situation like this, last I checked. So, nice try, Takumi.
ごめん。
My heart was pounding. Rimi's body was so soft and warm.
タク、私。
When I tried to hurry up and get off of her, Rimi wrapped her arms around my back. She nervously brought me in close, hugging me. PDA, man, PDA. Electricity ran through me at Rimi's surprise attack. In our moment of intimacy, her tender warmth transferred straight over to my body. I wanted to keep feeling that warmth. I wanted Rimi to be mine, and mine alone. So, no threesome option then? Taken over by those feelings, I hugged her supple body back. And right as I did, a silhouette standing behind Rimi's shoulder entered my field of vision. I'm sure, yeah, I think we're gonna get one. And look at that! She's got something that she can use for penetrative acts. Wink wink. It was Ayase, sword and D-sword in hand, looking at me with an expression of bitter hatred. While I couldn't hear what it was, I could tell she was mumbling something. I gulped. War was looming. Correction. Curb stomp battle is looming. Slaughter is looming. Blood would be reaped without mercy. And the moment I realized that, I knew I had to escape as soon as possible.
Oi, Taku!
Oh, come on! That's it? You're just gonna leave it off just like that? Fuck you! Misumi-kun was calling for me. Rimi also waved at me from beside him. Blinking in a daze, I examined my surroundings. I was definitely not embracing Rimi. Ayase was nowhere in sight.
ドキドキした。
You wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place if you just hugged them both. Maybe. At least there was a chance it could. At least there was a chance it wouldn't have happened. Yeah, I could do without the cat fights. Yandere should just stay in the realm of 2D. I don't want anything to do with someone actually like that. Joke's on you. You're kind of already dealing with one in the form of Grim.
Taku! 早く来いって!
I hurriedly chased after the two. Oh yeah, now that I'm thinking about it. Hey, Suwa! I think your lady has expressed interest in me. She's not very loyal. What you gonna do about it, huh? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Come on, man. Okay. what do I choose here now? I think I chose a positive delusion here from last time, if I remember right. So let's go negative.
どうしたの？
これから実家に帰ってみようと思うんだ。
これから急だね。
歩いても30分もかからないところなんだ。
And inwardly, she's panicking right now.
それで一緒についてきてほしい。
As I made that request, I was so nervous. My heart felt like it would burst out of my chest. I was even somewhat surprised that those words had managed to come out of my mouth at all. Asking someone for something. It was something I'd never been able to do before now.
嫌だよ。
She firmly declined.
私行きたくない。
I couldn't believe my ears. I would never thought she'd respond like that. Before that moment, Rimi had always listened to me, no matter how selfish I was being. She'd always helped me, supported me. So I assumed that she would agree without question, no matter what I asked her. But now that I thought about it again, I was the weird one for assuming she'd never refuse. I'd gotten too used to her taking care of me. I was being too presumptuous, expecting too much of her.
そう。
それに
Rimi turned her back to me, and then she wrapped her arms around herself.
それにタクも行かない方がいい。
それってどういう？
実家には戻らないで。
She spoke firmly, almost like she was ordering me not to go. I was at a loss. I had no idea what Rimi was trying to achieve by saying that. What kind of face was Rimi making as she had her back to me? Maybe the one that she's looking at us right now with? You know, you should probably just have her sprite vanish during this one particular instance here, so I could at least pretend like she actually has her back to me. But when she's facing forward towards me like this, and you tell me has her back to me, and I can't see her face, like, no, that's not gonna work. That's immersion breaking.
わけがわからない。
あなたは何も知らなくていい。
Her voice carried a sense of urgency. She felt like a completely different person from before.
ここでこのコンテナハウスだけでずっと生きていけばいいの。そうしてもらわないと困るんだ。
Won't end well. Wait, this was a delusion, right? Or was it real? Well, I know that sound. Suddenly, a high-pitched sound pierced my ears. One that sounded almost like a woman's scream. I thought we might have gotten something new with Sena's backstory.
少なくともあの時あの場所では4つの妄想がシンクロしてた。
Nothing yet, so let's go with a negative. Oh, whoops, forgot to read that.
これ以上妄想しちゃダメ。
My mind, still trying to delude itself, was forcefully ripped back to reality by Rimi's words. I chose a neutral option for this one too, if I remember correctly. So let's go with yet another negative. Maybe it was for the best that I died. There was no value in being in a fake being alive. I was worthless. Even if a monster did try and live in this world, they just end up being persecuted. I had neither hopes nor dreams. My existence itself was repulsive to people. I wanted to be freed from all this. If I died, I'd be free. After all, there'd be no more need to think. There'd be nothing more to suffer from. There'd be no one to laugh at me. There'd be no one to betray me. I wanted nothingness. I brought my heavy legs one step forward. In this place free of traffic lights, I staggered onto the road. I had a feeling that salvation awaited me there. A glaring brightness from a pair of headlights. The deafening, discordant noise of a car horn. The unnerving sound of squealing tires. Come on, kill me. Kill this fake me. This unsightly monster. With strong impact at my waist. My body was taken away. I rolled across the hood. Oh, so this is a delusion then. But there's no swaying screen, there's no swaying effect on the screen, so delusions are getting harder for him to distinguish. Well, it's getting hard for us to distinguish the delusions between fantasy and reality. A sharp pain. Something hard crashed into the temporal region of my head. My vision went black. The sound of bones shattering rang throughout my skull. I was unable to breathe. It felt as though I was underwater. I was tossed up into the air, and then I fell back down. My limbs writhed in pain. I felt as if the pain was burning away my nerves like fuses. I can finally die. When I opened my eyes, I was standing on the sidewalk. The road that I'd just been run over on was right in front of me. I checked my body. There were no wounds, no blood gushing out. I didn't feel any pain either. I even thought that I'd become a ghost. I wanted it to be true. But if that was the case, my corpse should have been lying in the middle of the road. Yet I saw nothing of the sort. The car that had run me over was also non-existent. Had that been a delusion? I've learned what the Japanese word for fuck is today. Kusol. I wasn't trying to get at sympathy points by showing that I wanted to die. No. I genuinely wanted to. I know. Seeking salvation for the final time, I dove into the road. A glaring brightness from a pair of headlights. The discordant noise of a car horn. The unnerving sound of squealing tires. Come on, kill me. Kill this fake me. This unsightly monster. With strong impact at my waist, my body was taken away. I rolled across the hood. Wait a minute. It's repeating. A sharp pain. Something hard crashed into the temporal region of my head. My vision went black. The sound of bones shattering rang throughout my skull. I was unable to breathe. It felt as though I was underwater. I was tossed up into the air, and then I fell back down. My limbs writhed in pain. It felt as if the pain was burning away my nerves like fuses. I can finally die. A delusion within a delusion. Once again. Whoops. When I opened my eyes at the start, I was, once again, standing on the sidewalk.
なんで
Why did I keep escaping into delusions every single time? I raised my voice to an almost shrieking scream, and once more tumbled onto the road. A glaring brightness from a pair of headlights, the discordant noise of a car horn, the unnerving sound of squealing tires. This time, please let me die. Nothing had changed. I was about to lose it. Did I not want to die? Or was I already dead? And this was all just a dream. Was my brain perceiving in my very last moment extrasensorily, leaving me to see this illusion in this sub-second time frame before the end? As fucking if. Almost completely giving in to my despair, I went to walk toward the middle of the road. But my legs were shaking. They were unable to move from where I stood. The delusion of my death had repeated 3 times. Maybe the 4th time will be the charm. The pain I had imagined in them, and all of its terrifying realism, overwhelmed my mind and made my terror even worse. I didn't understand. I couldn't grasp my own feelings anymore. Did I want to live or die? Which was it? I clenched my teeth, closed my eyes, and repeated to myself, I want to die. And with that, my legs finally moved forward. Even with my eyes closed, I could tell the headlights were shining on me. The sound of the horn pierced my ears, and the squealing sound of its tires got closer and closer with immense speed. Please, just run me over. And just like that, my wish was denied. I was simply standing on the sidewalk, safe and sound. Why? I broke down crying then and there.
どうして僕を死なせてくれないんだ。
Even though I didn't want to die. Even though I wanted to be saved. Please, just release me from this shitty game. And then it kept looping forever and ever and ever and ever for all eternity. I'll go with a negative one here too. Oh, whoops.
だったら消えればいいっしょ。
Despite that, she was all I had left. Rimi had left me. I didn't know where Nanami was. Sena had attacked me. Kozabi hadn't protected me. Yua was my enemy. And Ayase was hospitalized. These were the only girls I knew the names of. And none of them would do anything for me. Reality was harsh. It didn't give a damn about a monster like me. With my trembling hands, I tightened my grip on Seira-tan. Then tighter. Then tighter. Tight enough to break her. I wanted to disappear completely. Then why don't you just disappear? Perfect fucking response. I want to disappear. Then why don't you disappear? Well, if he knew how to disappear, he wouldn't be saying that, now would he, Seira-tan? Dumbass.
消えてやんよ。消えてやる。
I opened the storage box under my bed. If I remembered correctly, there should have been a knife around there. Thinking back on it now, it was just a bunch of chuni nonsense. But there was a time when I thought walking around with a knife in my pocket was cool. Though I'd stopped after police supervision got a lot tighter. And, just as I thought, among my keychains, trading cards, and scratch paper was my pocket knife. I held the blade in my hand. It shone eerily as it reflected the light. It was a bit rusty, given it'd been left there for about a year. But this amount of rust didn't matter much if I was just slitting my wrist. I propped the knife on my left wrist, the same hand holding Seira-tan. The blade was cold as ice. A chill that made me think of death. I closed my eyes and took 3 deep breaths. All that was left now was to keep a firm grip on the knife and drive it to the side. I just had to apply a bit of pressure with my right hand. My fake heart pounded and pounded. My pulse skyrocketed, even though I was just a fake. It felt as if ice was being poured into the center of my head. The trembling refused to stop. It only got worse and worse with each passing second, even though I was just a fake. Slit it. Slit your wrists. If you do so, you can disappear. I raised my voice in an attempt to muster up the will to die. Slit it. Slit it, 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 slit it. My trembling had gotten so bad, I dropped the Seira-tan figure I was holding. The knife was still pressed against my wrist. The knife holding it was shaking like crazy.
ないよ。
Throwing away the knife, I leaned back in my chair and cradled my head in my hands. How pathetic. I didn't even have the courage to kill myself. No reason to live, yet unable to even die. I couldn't even put an end to my life. The life of a monster. I was a worthless piece of shit who was beyond saving. It wasn't that I wanted to live. I was just scared of dying. Of disappearing for good. Even though I was just a fake.
頼むよ。誰かこんな僕を殺してくれ。
At the end of the day, I resorted to hoping someone else would be kind enough to kill me. I couldn't do anything on my own. This nature of mine to be completely dependent on others, it made me rotten to my very core.
そんなタッキーも可愛いよ。
Seira-tan spoke cheerfully, and I was hit with a strong sense of disgust toward myself, who had made her do so. I'm such a fucking disgrace. That voice. Okay. Now we got to the now we're at the delusion. Last two delusions I need to worry about. Number 43 wants me to select a positive. That voice. Couldn't be. How? There's no way I'd misheard that. Out of every girl that visited my base, there was only one dumbass that would scream outside of it like that. Nanami was here. I was somewhat surprised at how indifferent I felt in response to that fact. I just didn't care. What would her coming here while I was this far gone even do for me? Besides, it wasn't like it was out of the ordinary for Nanami to come here. Hadn't Rimi said that she was going to rescue her anyway? The noise was starting to irritate me. Just leave a monster like me alone. Nanami should have just been focused on her right hand, not me. Not that I knew what would happen to it. I didn't have it in me to talk to anyone anymore. But she was being too loud, so I was forced to get up from my chair and head for the door. The door seemed oh so far away to me, which made me realize I was scared to see her.
Ah, やっと出てきた。生存確認。
As I opened the door, Nanami smiled and waved at me. I froze in place. She was acting way too normal. She was acting way too energetic. I'd seen it. A white bandage wrapped around her right wrist. So why? I then remembered the phone call I'd gotten a few hours earlier. The pained voice asking me to give her right hand back. And now, the smile she had right now, and the bandage around her right wrist, contradicted each other. Nanami was contradicting herself. Oh, I see. She was also a delusion. She had to be. I never had a little sister named Nanami to begin with. I got it now. That had to be it. After ignoring her and heading back into my room, I sat down on the sofa. I once again took hold of my Seira-tan figure and gripped her tight. So tight, in fact, that my hand hurt slightly. But it didn't matter, because that pain, too, was a delusion.
お兄、どうしたの？元気ないじゃん。
Everything in this world was made up of delusions. Delusions evolved only within my mind. Both me and this delusion I was looking at were fake.
徹夜でゲームでもやってたの？もっと人間らしい生活したら？え、なになに？
黙れ。
ちょっと、そんな言い方しなくてもいいじゃん。お兄だからって何言っても許されるとか思ってる？
黙れよ。もうそう妹が。
妄想？
Well, he's not wrong. She is a delusion. I surrendered my body to the sofa and looked up at the ceiling. With no particular goal in mind, I started counting the rusty spots. I didn't want to look at Nanami. I'd only feel empty if I did. Well, not that I cared about whether or not I felt empty or not, given I was just a delusionary existence.
ねえお兄、本当に平気？いつもと全然様子が違うけど。
Worrying about me like a good little sister, huh? My delusional sister was worried about me. That fact alone filled me with anger. Besides, who was she to have come into my room like she owned the place?
あ、わかった。お腹空いたんでしょう。
More like hangry. I gritted my teeth.
だったら、ナナが何か作ろうか？
どれ？
ん？鳥って言った？鶏肉？
No one said a thing about takeout.
鶏肉だとやっぱ唐揚げかな。でも一人で作ったことないし。あ、別にお兄のリクエストがあったから作るわけじゃないからね。ナナも今日は鶏肉で何か作りたいなって思ってただけだよ。
Well, I'm pretty sure the home-cooked stuff is definitely going to be better than anything you get from KFC. This Nanami was really annoying. The fact that she was so similar to the real one wasn't something I could ignore. Wait, did a real Nanami even exist in the first place? Then what was this Nanami? Real? The real Nanami? My head became a mess. So I stopped thinking. I didn't care anymore. At the end of the day, everything was a delusion.
包帯取れ。取ってみろ、ボケが。
包帯って、あ、これ？転んで打撲しただけだし。
Just a fall. Was it true? Or was she lying? I would know if she took it off.
ほんと、わがままなお兄だな。じゃあ約束してよ。ナナが包帯取ってみせたら、お兄も元気出すって。
The sound of rustling cloth rang throughout the room, the quiet room, followed by a ringing in my ears. My head hurt. These two were delusions, though, so I paid them no mind.
はい、これで満足？って、ちょっとお兄、わざわざ取ったんだから、ちゃんと見てよ。
I sluggishly lowered my gaze. Nami had rolled up her uniform sleeve, and she was now sticking her right hand out toward me. And when I looked at her slender arm, I saw a stub. No. Blood. Dripping blood. Bloody words had been cut into her arm, and they said, "Once again, I should have guessed."
その目、誰の目?
Also, this is supposed to be a positive delusion. What about this is positive? My vision flashed, and when it passed, just like that, the horrifying wound on her arm was gone. I'd been hyperventilating, so I moved to catch my breath. I forcefully bit my lip. Nanami was rubbing the arm she had taken the bandage off of.
青あざ、だいぶ消えてくれたな。最初はすごく腫れてたんだよ。
I didn't know whether that was the truth or not. Sure, there wasn't a wound there, but there had been before. I didn't understand anything anymore. I didn't want to think anymore. I once again laid my head on the sofa.
ねえ、ナナミ。
Without meeting her eyes, I called out to my sister, or to the girl whose identity I wasn't sure of.
お前が本物でも偽物でもどっちでもいいよ。
Right now, I only wanted one thing.
僕を殺してくれないか。
Last one will be for when I'm standing in front of a crowd of people. And then after that, I'll be locked onto the Crying Sky ending route. Okay. Here we go. Last one. It wants me to select a neutral option. Where's the person who's gonna kill me, Seira?
目の前にいるっしょ?
目の前。
This tremendous crowd on this cold autumn night. Just what kind of festival could make so many people gather here to the point of there being no room to breathe? Just gonna let it just skip forward a little bit, and then I'll find one little random spot to stop. And I do not need to end up vividly remembering that murder. Thank you very much. Well, if I've done everything right according to this guide, I should definitely now be locked onto the route that I need in order to see this ending. But even so, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop things here, because I don't know how long this ending is actually going to last. And I want to be absolutely certain that I have potentially a full episode's worth of time to devote to it if need be. I mean, for all I know, it could go on for easily another hour. For all I know. Don't really have anything much to add. Don't really have much of anything to add this time around, other than what I've already been commenting on throughout the whole episode. I mean, yeah, it's definitely. It's interesting to see what the different delusions I could have picked the first time around actually were, and I'll admit some of them were definitely much more entertaining than I expected them to be. But past that, it's not like we're learning too much that I think is very interesting. That could help. That could help recontextualize. That could help further recontextualize some of the scenes and plot developments I'd seen up until now. Like unless the different heroine routes and the true ending routes end up changing the end game to such a significant extent, to where they're able to recontextualize huge chunks of the entire story in retrospect, then as far as I can tell, I think I've pretty much mostly just gotten the gist of the entire of the basic outline of the story, except for the respective endings, the other ones, and how they ultimately differ from the first ending. So I think it'll only be until we get to new entire endings, and once we get into the heroine routes, where things will start diverging from the main story route enough here, where things will get potentially a lot more interesting again, a lot more different. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and just stop things here now. So, I hope those of you who tuned in have enjoyed this latest episode of Chaos Head Noah. And if you did, and you'd like to see more content from me, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you all next time for the Crying Sky ending. Take care.